Hi, can you explain your passions? Okay, passions are a very specific personal objective. My passion is crocheting. It really is, because I know that when I crochet, it relaxes me. When I crochet, I can make something. When I crochet, I can express something very important to me that I'm incredibly passionate about, which is protecting the earth. So I'm able to weave in with my hands, because handwork is such a passion for me. It has always been that way. Since I was a child, I wanted to do things with my hands. And so when we combine it with the fact that there's so much anxiety in the world right now, and I can sit and I can crochet, and it's like active meditation instead of passive meditation. It's like active meditation. It relaxes me, and I'm also making things that reminds people to take care of the earth, and it all works. I mean, when we think of passion, we easily think of a ballerina, or tango dancers. I love to watch tango dancers. Or to watch an Olympics, no matter what they're doing in the Olympics. They have to have passion to do that. Or how about a musician who hardly makes any money, has so much trouble making in the beginning, it's so hard. Or someone who's passionate about their art expression, whether it's painting or drawing or sculpture. It takes passion to do that, because the rest of the world doesn't really see it as quickly as others do. It probably, for most politicians anyway, it takes a passion to be of service when they go into it. It's just that when they get in there and they find out how incredibly complicated it is to get along with other people and be able to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, that they really can't, and so then they have to fight with what their core values are and what they're really doing. I think you've seen that before. I think the same thing happens with attorneys. I think in general, attorneys go into that because they feel so strongly about making sure that truth and the person not guilty is found not guilty. But as they have to try to pay for litigation and the office and all the other expenses, they get biased into doing what other people are doing, which isn't often so straight. Same way with politicians. I think the same thing happens with doctors. I have to tell you, it was 3 years ago, in January, last January, which was 3 months ago, that a doctor told my husband he needed to take off his leg. I mean, he said he needed to take off his leg. And since then, we've been to other doctors who said, no, of course you don't need to lose your leg. But of course, he also told us how expensive it would be to take off his leg. And probably made a Mercedes payment or something. I mean, you just know this. You know, if you're an adult, you know that you just can't take statements at face value. You have to really think through. And person has to have a lot of passion or commitment to money to go into medicine. Because obviously, if you go into something in surgery in a big hospital in a big city with all of the negativity of a big city and all of the cost of a big city, and working 14-hour, 16-hour shifts all the way through not only the years they have to study in medical school, but all the years they have to be an intern. Oh my gosh. There's got to be a lot of passion for being a medical doctor. But what about the rest of us? It seems to me, and this is because I've been on this planet a while, It seems to me that a lot of what happens is people have, well, some ancestor way back had passion about something, and they kept convincing the rest of the ancestors to pick up the same passion. And what ends up happening is somebody either says yes and hates it and ends up as a drug and addict, an alcoholic, or some other negative thing like overeating or over shopping or over gambling or something, because they're so miserable in what they're doing because it's not their passion. And that's why I'm asking you, can you explain your passion? When did you notice it? What have you done about it? Have you followed it? Have you traded it for something else? Has trading it for something else put you in the position where you harmed yourself or harmed others with some kind of dependency or an addiction that got in the way of you having the life you wanted to have? It wouldn't surprise me if you said yes. It absolutely wouldn't surprise me if you said yes, because I've seen it over and over and over again. And you even see it in things like the passion to have a child. My father was 5'6". He wanted passionately to have tall sons so he could pass something on. He was so bright. Oh gosh, he was so bright. He wanted to pass that on to tall sons so they wouldn't have the negativity that he'd faced all his life for being dark-skinned. He was Polish, he was dark-skinned, and he was short. And even though he was smart, I mean, he worked for NASA for 17 years, and he was an officer during the war, even without a college degree, for the 28 years he was in the military. So, and he got all kinds of awards, and he had all kinds of fruit salad on his uniform. But he wasn't tall, and he felt like that helped him not be who he wanted to be, to the point he only knew my mother 28 days and he married her because she was tall. And his passion was destroyed when she was only able to have one child because her blood wasn't compatible with his. Now, there's a sad thing. Well, what about the people who give up their music just before they become famous? I mean, I just recently listened to Woodstock history, and there were Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I knew them all the time I was growing up. But if the first time they performed, before they even had a practice, the first time was at Woodstock, and they became phenomenally successful. And there could have been, and there were others who did the same thing. But what about all those who their passion is music, but they stop it and become a mechanic like Dad, or they become a nurse like Mom, or they become a lawyer like Uncle Fred, and then they're miserable because they only play music to themselves, or they quit writing it, or they decide to put it aside so they don't think about it, but they do think about it. Every night they look in their whiskey glass. It's true. Passion drives us. But when we give up our passion, it haunts us. It won't go away, I assure you. My next birthday, I'll be 80. And I'm telling you that when I was 3 years old, I learned how to embroider. I still love embroidering. I love sewing. I love knitting and crocheting and all those things that I had, most I'd learned by the age of 5 and mastered by the age of 12. But my parents said, oh, you can't be an artist. Oh, that's a terrible thing. You shouldn't do that. You'll never make any money. You'll never be good. So I didn't. And I had to go in recovery. I've been in the office of a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a social worker most of my life. Yep. Because I couldn't, I think, I'm telling you, because I couldn't follow my passion. Because they got in my way. In fact, I tried to do what was asked of me. My father said, if you go to college in business, I will pay for it. So I went through all the process, signing up. I was pretty old even at the time, but I did. I went through all the process and got everything, got signed up, went to college for 1 semester. He paid for it, and then he got sick and said, I can't pay for it anymore. And I thought, well, he's sick. He's not going to live very long. I'll make him happy. Well, he did. He kept living, and I kept borrowing money, and he kept living, and I kept borrowing money, and I finished my bachelor's, and he said, well, you know, you can't do much till you get your master's. So, okay, I kept borrowing money, and I did my master's, and I borrowed money and finished my master's. And he died just before I finished my master's. I was in my very last semester, but he knew I was going to finish my master's. Did that make any difference in his life? I don't know. It was at the end. So that's why I'm making this video. I don't want you to do the same. I don't want you to give up your passion because somebody else says you need to do it. And just because your father or your uncle or your brother or your aunt or your sister or somebody else has passion for something that they think you would be good at, if you don't think that, or you don't feel that, or you're not motivated to do that, please don't do it. I have seen, I'm also a minister. I've been a minister for almost 40 years. I've helped people decide to have an abortion when it was legal. I've helped people with marital problems. I've buried people. I've married people. I've counseled people who were gay couples and transgender, and transsexual and non-binary, and all the different areas that are so hard for people. All the different dissatisfactions. And so often, I wonder, especially in the young people nowadays, because so many young people nowadays want to change their gender or be non-binary or completely discard whatever their parents are doing. But I really believe that's because their parents can't bring themselves to understand the passion that their children have. I swore I would never tell my daughter what to do with her life. I am not happy about what she's done because she's very successful. I'm proud of her, but that doesn't mean I'm happy because I see her working so hard, but she's at her passion. She wanted a beautiful home. She has a beautiful home. She wanted a husband who really wanted to be with her and be supportive of her and love her, and he does, and he has. She wanted in-laws who respected her and were supportive of her and her husband, and she has. And she has a gorgeous home. She has a highly respected position as the head of college. And yet, I see how exhausted she is. And that's not what I would have chosen for her. But do I tell her? I tell her I'm sorry she's exhausted, but I never told her what field to go into. I never discouraged her from dancing or she took, I did try to convince her to play the clarinet. No, I'm sorry, that was my son, my oldest. I tried to convince her to play the violin. I wanted to expose her to music, and it was such a disaster. Oh God, I felt so bad because she was so sad that I finally said, this is ridiculous. And so she never did play an instrument. I mean, you know, the problem with kids is they don't come with a set of directions. Nobody's there. Well, there wasn't anybody there by my side. My mother didn't like girls, and the only time she was around my daughter, she treated her horribly, so that wasn't an option. I was never around my aunts or my uncles the whole time I grew up. My dad was military, and we were always moving and going to other places. And it's a sad thing. And that's the reason that I'm kind of in the dark, almost, because I wanted to make this video as the sun went down, because I don't want you to let the sun go down on your passions. I want you to recognize, if it's not too late, to follow your passion. I have a friend who's told me, I think it was today, he said 58. He's 58. He's heading back to school. He has a doctorate, but he doesn't want to stay in that field. And so he's working on a master's in another field, because that's what he wants to do with his life. He realizes that the field he was in, although it was lucrative, it wasn't the best choice for him. So now as the sun goes down here in Ecuador, and the light has just come on over my therapy tub, it's time for me to say to you, please listen to this video and think about it. Can you explain, not only to others, but to yourself, what is your passion? And are you going to follow it? Read, What Color Is Your Parachute? Read, Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. And there's probably 1,000 more books out there that tell you the same thing that I'm telling you right here now. Don't let the sun go down on your passion, because you'll be sorry. Believe me, you'll be sorry. You'll turn to some way, drugs, alcohol, overeating, gambling, prescription drugs, whatever it is, you'll turn to something to ease the pain, because there's physical, mental, and emotional pain when you don't follow your passion. Got any questions? Leave them down in the comments. I'll answer them. And if you're down there, take a look at my nonprofit. That's what motivates me. My passion has always been to help others. And I hope I've helped you tonight. And I hope you're seeing the lights. Do you see the lights behind me? Because the sun is going down here in Ecuador. And I hope you've learned something today. Tonight. Thank you. Bye.